and so if they are able to tell me, you know, what I need to know on the ballot, if they forgot something, if they didn't sign something, if they can come down, you know, I'm trying to go above and beyond so that everybody gets their absentee ballots as promptly as possible. Now, yes, ma'am, we've made some mistakes, and we will probably make some more before it's all over.
I've got a question about this. This is the election board meeting. Is there a meeting notice? How do you notify the public of your meetings? Was this meeting in the paper?
This one should have been.
Because they were notified each time. Yeah. We don't send them out 12 because of the fact that the dates may change. But
so you don't read regularly on the 3rd?
We do.
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying is occasionally we've had to move on it. Yeah. More than 2 board members were going to be out of town or something.
I didn't see it in this week's paper. I'm just learning how consistent you are for meetings. And on your bylaws, you're following Robert rules of order for your meetings. I guess I'm concerned because this is a board meeting and you went through almost the whole agenda, and I haven't heard not one motion, second, or anything like that as far as business, and you've made decisions, and I haven't heard any recorded votes that will be in your minutes to justify this being a meeting.
Okay.
And it actually taking place as board members.
One of our Jan Baker is not here today.
So then you're saying you don't have a quorum to meet? There's two
members.
No. So then therefore you could vote. I mean, so if you're not voting and putting anything in motion and there's nothing here, then there's actually no record of this meeting ever existing. So nothing you say today can be used if you're not voting and there's a motion, there's a second, there's an actual record of these things being done.
I understand.
There's not, according to the sunshine rules.
We should have made a motion on.
I don't know, I'm just saying, I'm listening to see so I can make notes here as to what officially this board has decided to do in this meeting, and I have not heard anything but discussion. I haven't heard any motions passed, anything voted on as to go into records as to this is what you're moving forward. And without that, the board hasn't made a decision.
Okay, so the only thing that I think that we need to make a decision about would be the commissioners having an emergency meeting. Other than that, I think all that we have been doing, yes, is discussing because we're in the middle of an election.
Well, there wasn't.
Just point of order. I'll do Robert's Rules of Order for you now.
Okay.
What you said was incorrect. You had to approve the minutes, and that had to be approved. You were not allowed to go any further.
Okay, I did not approve the minutes.
I don't want to be, please don't let me make a confrontation at all. I'm just saying, that's the point she brought up.
Yeah.
You had to approve the minutes at the very beginning of this meeting. They were never approved, and there was never any discussion. So those things have to be rendered, and we as the public need to know that. So it shouldn't be. I don't want to be confrontational, but I'm chairman of several boards.
First, the agenda has to be approved.
The agenda has to be approved.
Before you can even constitute this
And the
meeting.
most important thing is you gotta have an agenda meeting called emergency meeting to the commission. These are the things that are needed now.
Well,
No, I'm saying to get this in order, there has been an approval of the agenda first, and then there has been approval of the minutes, and there's been nothing voted on, it's been a lot of discussion. So if you went out of this, the board didn't actually meet, because there's no actual record of a board meeting.
I can say this, I did table to her to table the minutes to the next meeting.
But there wasn't a motion, it wasn't voted on, there wasn't a second, so there's just still discussion. But I'm saying the first thing, there's been no, you operated on an agenda that hasn't been approved. So therefore, there's not a valid meeting. It's just been discussion, and there's not a valid meeting. And I'm curious to see what the other minutes look like, because if there hasn't been an approval of the agenda, it's just, by law, you just have, these things have to be done in order to constitute you've done anything legally, because if not, you've done nothing, and nothing that's been said here can be acted upon.
I second that.
Are we still in, because I didn't, that was gonna be my question. This question is actually a time for citizens to be heard. Do you have a question?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to state that as working in the polls for the past 20 years in Lowndes County, I do agree with Ken that this can be a very stressful and tedious job, and it changes every year. My wife was a poll manager for 20 years, and I was assistant poll manager for 20 years. I understand that. But something that Deb Cox taught us a lot of years ago was that foundation of everything we do in America. And I used to think that that was kind of cocky to say, but it's actually the truth.
Yes, sir.
And it's what we do and what is done here in every board of elections throughout the United States is the foundation on what we do in America, on who's going to represent us, be it city dog catcher or the President of the United States. So with that type of responsibility, we must be open to criticism. We must be open to complaints, and we must be open to accolades as well. I am from Lowndes County, but I will introduce myself as J.C. Cunningham. I live at 2521 Bonus Vista Circle in Valdosta, Georgia. But I am a candidate for state representative for District 175, which encompasses Lowndes County, Brooks County, and Thomasville. And I've known Ken for some time, and I do think that I can talk to Ken on any level. And I think that he's been put in a position that he has not been truly trained for, and he's taken a lot on himself. But I do think that the Board of Elections, and I mean the board, not Ken, needs to realize that and to be successful. And because, like I told Ken the other day, perception is reality. And the perception is from me as an outsider talking to folks every day, and I'm in Brooks County every day. I run 24 hours a day. I'm here every day. The perception is that things are not right in the Board of Elections in Brooks County, and that people have been disenfranchised in numerous ways. I've heard Ken say several times what he had to personally do. Madam Chairman, you need to be, you and the board need to be very, very, very careful about Ken having to micromanage this office. I think you guys have let him down, and I think that it is time for you to not make any more excuses. If Ken has to work 12 hours a day, then the board, the staff, and the Board of Elections, the people who volunteer for this position need to be prepared to work many hours as well. The things that folks are upset about, you need to take more seriously, because it is the talk of Brooks County. I was here Saturday. I spoke at a church. We had pastors there. People are upset. They have no confidence, not in Ken as much as they don't have confidence in the system right now. And again, as long as there's a perception, it is a reality. Now, my last thing is something that was brought to me this weekend, and I think you all have a copy of it. And this is why folks, and even myself, and I will tell you up front, I did bring this up to the Secretary of State's office. I am very concerned about anything that's ever penny neat. We have a certification of political party candidates, and which was done on 25 May. They are qualifying, and one has a person not being on the qualifying sheet and was notarized. And on another sheet, that person all of a sudden mysteriously appears. Now, in all the years that I was involved in the Democratic Party, one as a chair, once those certifications are done, they are not to be changed. You cannot add, and so that decertifies this certification for Republican Party candidates. This is in itself a violation of state law and federal law. When that name was added, law was violated and you can't be prosecuted. And for someone to think that that is not serious lends to the reason why folks do not have confidence in this office. Now, These are things that must be addressed and must be addressed immediately. And it is not to intimidate, it is not to belittle anyone, but you know, if you sent your children to school and they didn't give your students the proper books, you would, in order to, if you gave them a math book or a science class, you would be very upset and you'd want it corrected. We want everybody to be on the same playing field, on a proper playing field. And I can't speak for Miss Exum. I think that was her name. But if I was trying to be pretty upset that someone was allowed to be added to the ballot against me after it was already certified, I'd be very upset. And just think if we did that for if it was Mayor Pickles. You know, he was on his ballot, he was running, and all of a sudden he saw a certification at 5 o'clock when certification was over, and then a week later he sees all of a sudden someone running against him because for whatever reason, I don't care if the person really did certify or not, you cannot add them, and then there's no initials to be changes. You have changes where you just cross things out. I don't know who crossed it out. These are things that needs to be answered. And I submit that these things need to be answered immediately. And like I said, I have already sent my complaint to the Secretary of State's office in the state of Georgia. I sent that complaint on Friday. So I did want the board to be aware of that. Now, again, board, I go back to the board. The board in itself is responsible for anything Mr. Collins does. And Mr. Collins cannot be the only one at fault here. He cannot be at fault. I don't think he should be the solely person held at fault. And if the board is not up to supervising this Board of Elections, then I think the board needs to step down or recall themselves, because this is no way to run an election. This is the most important election that will ever happen to our next election. And we have a T-Splosh. We have a lot of different things on this ballot that we need to take a little bit more seriously. And I thank you for giving me a couple minutes of your time. And I would hope to see some answers to some of my questions and concerns real soon. Thank you.
Well, all I can say is I know that this that had the name, Mr. Corey's name added to it, I don't know where you got your copy of the one that did not have the name on it, because I thought that had been retrieved. That mistake was caught very early, and I thought it was caught before the thing went to the courthouse. Now I don't know where you got your copy of the one that's lacking his name.
I got it from the election office when I was here for qualifying. I stayed until almost 2 o'clock.
Okay, well then you
And
got
so
the wrong
you
list.
No,
You got the wrong
no.
list. You got the wrong list because the other one was corrected before it went to the courthouse. And I think
Well, I was here when qualifying ended, when the sign went on the doors, and qualifying was ended, and the Republican Party finished theirs, and they came over, and they gave us copies, and I got copies from your office, as to the Republican and Democrat ticket, what it was.
And the other thing is, again, if that is true, Madam
why?
Chairman, it should have, then why was it, then it should have been scratched, it should have been done the proper way. It should have been refilled out, re-notarized, and then there would be a question. No, there's no time that says when you did this. There's
It's
no
already
time.
notarized. Anytime you alter a form that's been submitted, that's fraudulent. It's fraudulent.
I can state this here. When I posted the sign on the door that qualification is closed, they was finishing up the forms. Once they completed the forms, Mr. Collins gave it to me to make copies, to give each party a copy of the other party's list. This is the list that we had that made copies of after the qualification was
And I was
closed.
missing the name.
Yes.
Okay,
And
well,
both parties had this, and after we left for the day, I assumed this was it. And this one here was brought to my attention that the dollar amount was changed, crossed out and changed, and they added $216 to it, and Mr. Corey names added on. that one there. Now, under my understanding, once it is notarized, which he put his seal on, should nobody go make any changes on it. And the changes has been put on it. And as I stated, I would not try to go to prison for anyone. Mr. Collins has stated he don't want to go to prison for anyone, but we know breaking this here law here, there has been a felony committed because a change was made on this document and no one was aware of the changes. Not even, I assume, Mr. Collins, because as a certified notary, he would have known the proper procedures to take for making those changes.
Yeah, I did not.
To this point.
The front had been.
And I said, that is, and that's just following the laws that's right here. And it says she'll be guilty of a felony for making any changes
That's so true.
in this here.
That's so true. Right, so what's the answer to this? What do you want? I mean, what do you think we should do?
By right, I make a motion that we turn this over to the proper authorities and let them take it into consideration what needs to be taking place according to the laws in Title 21, Chapter 2, Section 562, 21, 2, 5862.
I didn't touch it after all that was done, so, I mean, I don't know who altered it. Mr. Porter was qualified at the right time, before 12 o'clock. Now, past that point, you know, whenever Lee Larco came back to me, he said, we left somebody inadvertently off the list. And I said, okay, well, what's the problem? And he showed me. And that was whenever I recertified the back page, because he was technically left off the list, but he was qualified properly. But now the front page, whenever Mr. Drury brought that in, that's the first time I've seen that.
You recertified, how did you recertify? There's two, you stamped it again and
Yeah, I re-notarized it because technically he was qualified before 12 o'clock. They just left him off the list.
No, this is the same certification as the first one and the second one. It hasn't been restamped. It's the exact same thing. Page 2. Page 2 of 2. And 2 of 2 is your exact same notary on it, same signature, same stamp. There had been no change in it. The only change is when this name has been added at the bottom. So you were aware that this was permitted, this was given, and then this was added after.
Yeah, Lee Larco explained to me that they had just inadvertently left him off the list, and you know, I called Deb Cox to ask her what to do. She said, well, that's not, it's not a major. She said it doesn't fall under me.
So Deb Cox made a decision on that.
Oh, no, I just bounced it off of her.
And see, again, I think, just to the board, I don't really, I think where I'm coming from more so than anything else, is that they're just like was brought up by, I don't know his name, but I think Mr. Proctor that, again, we have rules and we have regulations that we need to be going by. And it seemed like the rules didn't apply to the Board of Elections. Again, I feel Mr. Collins is being the one targeted here, and he should not be the only one targeted here. Someone else in an authority felt they had the right to come to him and bring these things in, put him in this position, and that tells me that the people of authority don't know the rules and policies enough to truly supervise this office. And that is disheartening as a taxpayer, as a voter, and as a candidate. First of all, I am a notary also, and you cannot re-notarize anything that you pen and ink without making the corrective actions and annotating those. And there's no annotations. And again, I don't think, I do think, and it's not my position, but I've already stated I've already contacted the Secretary of State's office, and now, Madam Chairman, I think I think that your capacity as the chairman should be to contact the sheriff's department and to notify them that there has been some fraud committed and that it needs to be investigated immediately, because this election is not going to be certified